Hari Om, I see that we have one viewer. We have more coming. Hari Om. We'll just give this probably a couple of minutes as people are logging in. So if you could please be patient with me. Hari Om. I see that more people are joining us. And I have the green light from Swamiji to start. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's begin with opening prayers. And if we can start with, I'll lead with Sahana Bhavatu and just take a moment and just regroup a little. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavirang Karavahai Tejasvinadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om, everyone. My name is Sharanya, and I'm here to lead the seminar on leadership and communication. And I'm getting a few kind of messages, so pardon me if I kind of look away for a second from people joining the chat or asking me questions in the chat. Let's go ahead and take a few minutes to do housekeeping. Maybe most already familiar with this. I'm still learning about Google Chat, so I ask for your patience. If we can do Google Chat is, so I can't actually hear you, but you hear me. And if you cannot hear me, can you please go ahead and click on the Q&A button on it'll be left of your screen in the bar, and send me questions. And similarly, anytime you have during the presentation, you can always ping a question. And if I can answer it right away, I'll incorporate it in the presentation. And if not, please know that we will have time at the end to do Q&A. So I'm dedicating about 10 minutes, maybe we can do 15 minutes of a right at the end. So I would say as you go through the presentation, if you want to take notes or take notes of questions, we can, we'll have time at the end to discuss it. Again, very much of a discussion is going to be more of one way. You can post questions by clicking the Q&A icon on the left-hand side, and then I'll go ahead and answer your questions verbally. And similarly, if you have problems, during the seminar, just go ahead and send me a note. And let me see. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I do have slides for you today, and that's just to kind of, again, ease the communication. One while up screen share so that y'all can see the slides. Okay, here we are. And if you can't see the slides, if you can't see the screen, if it suddenly turns blank, go ahead and send me a question, or a shout out, and I will get back to it. Or I'll get to your question, sorry. Okay, so I decided to call I decided, well, to create a little something that might make it easier for all of us to remember the points on leadership and communication. Today's seminar, we will be looking leadership, and then tomorrow we'll do communication. I call it the 5 C's: leadership and communication, and inside out approach. So this is going to be maybe a little bit different from some of the leadership seminars that you'll have attended. I hope it is. It's unique to Chick West. And we're going to look at leadership from the point of view of how to, master yourself, and then to project that into your leadership. So that's why I call it an inside out approach. So we're going to look at some element internally you deal with as a leader, and then externally, how do you lead people? So I'm going to do an introduction to my background in the 5 minutes or so, only so that you know a little bit about what my fabric is, where I've been involved in Chick, what is my relationship to Chick, and then we'll talk about some key questions regarding leadership. So what are the different things that we focus on for leadership? And then get to the 5 C's. What are these 5 C's? And then we'll have some time at the end to do a Q&A. So about myself, basically I have a background in law and dispute resolution. I used to be a litigation lawyer, and then decided that there were better ways of resolving disputes. And I spent the last probably 10 years, 15 years in the field of dispute resolution, and now I'm a life coach. I have participated, organized, planned, I kind of grouped all that together in different activities in Singapore and India, in the United States, and basically for about 17 years, which is really the whole gamut of Chick. And I decided, you know what, I'm not anymore. I'm also a Chinmay Yuvavir from the first batch, which happened in Kolhapur Ashram in India in 2004. And then I've been a Chick representative on the Singapore Executive Board, representing Chick Matters. And then I've also facilitated junior Chick groups since 2006. I was on the Chick West board until 2011. And then on the steering committee from 2011 to 2013, I've just listed a few things that I was involved in. And oops, let me go back for a second. And then also right at the bottom, I have facilitated Chick workshops and Chick study groups. And so, I've been a Chick, I've been a team member, a leader. I've had different roles, and all of this has just given me, and a lot of it was trial and error. So what I'm about to do with you is really kind of a reflection of my reflections of leadership as it applies to Chick. So I know that many of you, are very accomplished leaders, and obviously either you've been invited or appointed as leaders for the Chinmaya Jyoti Yatra. So that already says, something about your style of leadership. And so I'm very confident that you'll bring your own brand of leadership to the project and to the team. And I'm here to just kind of share some of my reflections. So some of the key questions when we leadership is, first of all, what is leadership? If you look at the definition, it says the action of guiding and directing people or organization toward or goals. And so it's kind of a literal definition. But just these components, let's look at some components of this definition. One, who are leading? Could be people, could be an organization. In the Chinmaya Jyoti Yatra, the people you'll be leading are your team members. It could be, primarily your team members, but also in the sense that the Chinmaya family in your community is also, you'll also be a leader for them, because they'll look for direction on what's happening with the Yatra, what are updates, etc. So, take some time to really think about, who are you leading here? Who's your audience? And the second thing to think about is, what is the vision for this project? What is the goal? what are you directing, and what are you moving people towards? What is this goal? Is it just the day to have a good musical performance? Is just a project? I'm going to challenge you to think about the bigger vision of where you're working towards and you're moving people towards. And then the last kind of the last point is, what is this action of guiding and directing? When it applies to chick activities, I think it's not just about guiding and directing. I think a big component is inspiring people. Make people really want to work with you, for the project, for the cause. And I emphasize this because this is not the same as corporate leadership, where people are, incentivized by money, or there's really no monetary incentive here. You're leading, or you're directing a group of people who are volunteers, and them to dedicate their free time and their effort towards a project, out of the millions of activities that they already have, means that they need to be very, very inspired in this project. Think about, what is your role here as a leader to keep the team, tightly knit, to keep them wanting more, wanting to work passionately for this project. And really, I mentioned this earlier about the inside out approach. Uh, Leadership starts from within yourself. So, what I'd like to kind of share with you is, when you think about your role, in this and in this, think about the different challenges you encounter, and then also some of the things that you're celebrating about. Whether it's something positive or something negative, I want you to think about how you can use this experience to grow as a person, and rather have circumstances, whether difficult circumstances or even good circumstances coming in the way and stunting your growth as a person and making you feel dejected or cynical, or completely and kind of writing cloud. I want you to think about, how can you use these experiences to grow as a person? And how can you inspire your team to also grow from these experiences? So that's why I encourage you to think about leadership starting from inside and then emanating out. So the 5 C's of leadership, as I see it, and I just say a quick word about the image. I really like the idea of a hand. And our hands, I mean, at many levels. I mean, we do a hands-on approach. The hands are, probably some of the, most hardworking external component ourselves. It's where we get things done. And so, I just thought it was very beautiful. When we think about leadership, think about the hand. And obviously, when these 5 come together, they form a powerful reckoning fist. So, each finger as the component of leadership. And so I've listed, and I bet you there's more than this. And really, we have 10 fingers, so technically we could do 2 hands. For today's seminar, I really want to focus on what I think are the most important ones, and that's clarity, confidence, charisma, courage, and commitment. Okay? And I'll go through each one of these in a little bit more detail. So when we talk about clarity internally, do you know what the goals are of the program, of the project? Do you have you read through the material that has been sent to you? Do you know why you're doing this? Do you know your leader your role as a leader, and kind of the why of what you're doing? In Chinmaya Jyoti Yatra, what we're trying to do is honor the life and legacy of Puja Gurudev, and a key component of that is spreading awareness. And how we fit in is this is the Chick West contribution in the bigger picture of the centennial celebrations that will take place worldwide. And so, it's not just about getting a musical done, or it's not just about, making sure that these chantings happen. Think about why you're doing this. You're doing this to, one, honor Gurudev's life and his contribution and his legacy um, to spirituality. And so, as long as you're clear about what these elements are, they'll also keep you inspired, and they'll keep you focused on what you really need to do. And if you stay focused on this, some of the smaller things that may come along the way will be easier to let go of. And now externally, when I talk about externally, how does this express itself? How does clarity express itself through you as a leader? With the team, a good starting point when you start your team meetings is set some goals. First of all, make sure that your team actually know what the movement is about, what we're trying to do. Just as I am kind of sharing and talking with you about we're doing this, have a why conversation, and ask people why they want to be a part of it. And then setting goals, kind of what do you want to achieve from this. And clarity also involves giving, clarity in respect of giving and taking instructions. Again, when you say, hey guys, you need to be committed, what does that mean? What kind of time commitment are you looking for? What are you expecting from your team? What do they expect of you? So it's very important to have that clarifying conversation, with your team members, so that the expectation is clear. And then tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about communication. I think that's kind of central component. Clarity and communication is very, very key, especially since we're undertaking such a massive project. It's a nationwide project that involves different channels of communication. I think that will be very important. But I'm going to save that for tomorrow's seminar. So the next C is confidence. Y'all might be kind of accustomed to thinking confident. Confidence as a leader is, somebody who speaks well and kind of, looks like they know what they're doing. Let's start from within. Again, internally, kind of take a minute and to ask yourself, like, how well do you know yourself? What can you do? What are some things you need to work on? What are some things that you're really good at? And when you do kind of an honest inventory of yourself, you become a bit, again, clearer and also more confident about where you stand as a leader. And I'm going to encourage you to delegate when needed. This is something I learned, in a very sort of in hard ways. Confidence is not about doing everything by yourself. It is recognizing what your capacity is and delegating where needed. Sometimes, you'll have team members who can either have more time or more expertise in a certain, area, and you should feel comfortable to just delegate, and not necessarily micromanage all the time. That's kind of, part of the confidence here. Confidence in your team. And then kind of, again, being honest with yourself. And then another thing I'm going to say is, have team members with the right expertise on board. And here, what I mean is, if your team includes people, with, the right, some people who are very good with the website, who are very good with, with social media. There are different skills that can be used in making the project successful. So think about who you can bring on board, and and what skills they have, and then that also makes sure that you utilize everyone fully, and you have a very diverse set of skills in your team. And then the other thing I would say is, to gain confidence, you need to read the game plan for Chinmay Jyoti Yatra very thoroughly. So by this I mean, know what the goals are, know what, when what needs to get done. Be clear about the timelines. Be clear about the instructions. Be clear about what activities you're going to be doing. Because the more knowledge is power. The more you know, the more confident, first of all, you'll be about the project, and then also about what you will project to others. Externally, I think it's very important, to do the first kind of point one internally, to do all of that, so that you can then inspire confidence in chicks. When chicks look at you, they'll see somebody that they can trust. Somebody who's knowledgeable, who has a who has a tightly knit team, and who's very secure in themselves. So I think in that way you'll really inspire confidence in others. A very key thing is inspiring confidence in board members. For many centers, this is going to be a first time that they undertake, maybe and even participate in like a national level project. This is a big deal, and when they have the right chick uh, leader on board, it makes them comfortable. It makes them more willing and able to participate in a national level project. And they're going to be dependent on you for information, particularly for information. And then tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about, how do you go about inspiring confidence in board members. And one thing I want to say is that, in this project, you're not just, it's not just Sharanya, it's not just Raghu, it's you are a chick ambassador. When people see you at work, they're not going to be looking at you as an individual. They're going to see you as a representative of chick. And here I say be a chick ambassador. I should really say be a confident chick ambassador. Know about chick. Know about what the values are of being a chick, and then walk the talk. So when people see you, they see not just confident XYZ person. They see this is an example of a confident chick leader. And vice versa, whatever you do, whether good or bad, is going to be reflected on you. It's going to be reflected on chick. So have consideration for this, that you are a chick ambassador. You are a chick. You're not just a leader. You are a chick leader. And in however you decide to carry yourself forward, then that will be a reflection on Chick and Chick West. The third component is charisma. And, here I want to say, the reason I put charisma down as being important is, there are quiet leaders, and that's fine. That's if that's your style of leadership, to kind of go about things quietly and kind of be behind the scenes. I think you still need to have charisma. I talked about kind of inspiring people to want to work for the cause. So you can start by build your charisma by, first of all, about Gurudev's charisma, and and how he inspired people. He inspired, when you think about it, he inspired a worldwide movement. It was not just one center, two centers. It's more than 250 centers have sprung up, and over like a few thousand devotees. How did he do this? What was his vision? How did he reach out to people? I mean, some of the things that kind of I think about is his one-to-one connection with people. His the way he made every person feel special, and that really requires charisma and a deep love for the people you're working with. So that's just one example. And his compassion. and how that inspired people to join the fold. So I would say, if you're kind of like, well, I don't know what kind of leader, like, I don't know if I've got charisma. I mean, I can kind of get done. It's not just about getting things done. It's about spreading awareness of Gurudev. So first, educate yourself in terms of his life and his inspiration, and let his charisma grow on you so that you really become, uh, like they say, the music um, flows through a flute very beautifully when it's Krishna blowing into the flute. So let his voice become yours. Let his inspiration become yours. Become an instrument. And then the next component of that is, in order to be charismatic, you need to ignite your best creative self. So by this, think about what inspires you about working for this movement. What are you excited about? What are you passionate about in this project? And when that love and that passion is there, you bring out your best creative self, and that will be so helpful when it comes to tricky problem solving, troubleshooting, dealing with difficult people. All of this, is there's preparatory work. So start with yourself, and then external. The external component of this is being a source of inspiration. So when people look at you and look at you as a leader, they really they will want to participate in this. You're going to be so passionate about this project and so interested in it and so knowledgeable in it that they look at you and they think, man, I want that. There's a fire in that person's eyes and in the way they conduct themselves that makes me want to work for this. So ignite the fire within yourself, and then that become a source of inspiration for others. Um, and then kind of tied with that is another component is speaking about the event with passion and conviction. So there will be a lot of occasions where you interact with members of the public, with Chinmaya Mission members, and you're going to be asked this question a ton of times. Swamiji, he's been saying, giving the same sort of spiel, and um, uh, he's talked to multiple people about the same question: what is Chinmaya Jyoti Yatra? What are you guys trying to do? What are you going to be doing? And it feels like each time he talks about it, he speaks about it with more passion and conviction than the last. And make that your goal. To get people excited about it, you have to be passionate. You sometimes need to have enough enthusiasm for the other person too, for your team too. And it's that kind of passion and conviction that will make you a charismatic leader. Now, the next component is courage. And when we start with the idea of courage from within yourself, the first thing I wrote is face fears. That what many of you have either taken on this role as a leader, or have been kind of appointed to do this work, and some of the things that are involved in the project, you may not be so excited about. Let's face it, you might be nervous about speaking in public. You might be nervous about interacting with a board that you don't really know. You could be, afraid of, if you're actually, if you're very involved in the actual musicals, and there might be elements there that kind of freak you out. Use this as an opportunity to face your fears. Find out what's your biggest fear, and then do it. That's the only way that you can actually deal with it, is to do it. And know that when your goal is something that is selfless, then Gurudev will be there to walk you through it. So drop your fears, face your fears, and walk ahead. I also want to kind of share with you that through from my experience, working in different projects, the acharyas are an amazing source of guidance, especially for those times that you feel down and that you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to happen. Things are really tough. Nobody's listening to me, etc. You all have acharyas that you will be reporting to, in the different regions, north, south, central, etc. And so reach out to them. Don't be afraid. Just reach out to them and get some guidance about where you're going and how things are going. And again, reach out when you feel overwhelmed. Again, like I said, this is a large scale project. There are lots of different components. The timelines could be quite tight, just depending on when you need to, when it comes to your turn. And so, if you come to a point where you feel overwhelmed, I say don't wait until then. Don't be afraid to reach out and get guidance and get support. And then one thing I want to say is also kind of, to keep the courage going within yourself is to recharge. And recharge can happen in many ways. I mean, make sure that you follow your sadhana every day. And we read about Gurudev's life, about how he stayed inspired and how he faced through these difficulties, through these difficult challenges in his life, and draw courage from that, and take time to regroup within yourself, and always keep the overarching goal in mind, and then let that be a source of inspiration and courage for you. Me. Now, externally, I would say, in projecting confidence or letting that being courageous, is to be fearless in walking. I put it as be fearless in walking towards the goal. There are times when things are going to be tough. There are times that people are going to be questioning you, and whether it's your team members, board members, even your family, be like, what are you doing? You're either spending too much time, or you're not spending enough time, or no, these logistics don't make sense. People pull out. It can be difficult. It can be challenging. And through this, as a leader, you have to be fearless, because people are going to look up to you. Because just as you feel tired, other people around you are going to feel tired. Your team members are going to feel tired. And you must be that source of courage for them. So first, you become courageous, and then be courageous for others, so that you keep, like a shepherd guiding the sheep. Sometimes they're frightened, they don't know where to go, they're jumping over each other. The shepherd patiently and fearlessly guides all the sheep back home. And that's something that you're going to be needing to do as a leader. Another component of this is make tough, considered decisions. And I said not just tough decisions, but it needs to be considered. So 2 components. Sometimes when you need to make certain decisions, it can be a difficult one to make. For instance, somebody in your team is not pulling weight, and this is slowing down the process for everybody. And your decision is, how are you going to deal with this? Are you just going to redistribute the workload, or are you going to have a conversation with your team member? And it might make you worried. It might make you, you might feel awkward about it. But again, refocus on, why are we doing what we're doing? What is the purpose of doing? And if you find then that concern is actually very minor, then drop it, let it go, and move on. But if you think that interferes with the larger goal, then have the courage to make the decision to actually address the problem, to talk to the person, to have a one-on-one conversation if needed. But it needs to be, again, and then it needs to be a considered decision. So not when you're kind of pushed to make a decision, okay, whatever, let's just do it. I mean, whatever is not a considered decision. Um, it's a desperate decision, but it's not a considered one. So, weigh in all the pros and cons, and then, get guidance from your acharyas where needed, and then have the courage to make the decision. And then the last component of that is, keeping the faith and inspiring the team to do the same. Sometimes the going can get very tough, as I was talking about earlier, and it's important to know that Gurudev is with you. He is walking with you. He is guiding the project, and that you can lean on him, and and then inspiring the same with the team members. And one thing which I kind of need to mention is, I don't know if all the team members, some people might be new to Chinmay Mission, and so you might kind of, again, it's not just about managing this person. It's about bringing this person into the fold and inspiring this person about the life of that Gurudev led and his contribution to spirituality. So when you deal with your team members, know this: you're not just directing a team, you are inspiring them about a higher goal, and then interact with them in that spirit, in that attitude. And then the final one is commitment. And I don't know if this is the most important, but I mean, it's probably the thumb on the finger. First of all, your commitment, and making sure that you stay committed to the project and to the goal. And I talked about earlier, kind of to stay inspired and to stay focused about it. What are you trying to achieve? What is the bigger picture? Why are you doing this? And then staying inspired by doing your sadhana, by staying connected to Gurudev's vision. That's going to be important to foster your commitment to the project. And then you have to lead by example. If you're expecting commitment from others in your team, you have to be committed, because they're going to look to you for that. And the more committed you are, then the more you're going to inspire that in others. Externally, that means, following through with your promises. If you say certain things are going to get done, they need to get done. And then doing whatever it takes. It may mean, foregoing your TV show, or, some plans that you made with friends so that something gets done. And, you need to do it. Just as he did it, you need to do it. Think about, you might have to make some personal sacrifices, and that's important to follow through with what you said you would do. Another thing I want to say is, another way of expressing commitment is attending meetings. And there's going to be so many meetings. There's the Chick West meetings, the core, your team meetings, meetings with the board members, meetings perhaps with the Yuvavirs. I don't know. There's a whole list of meetings that may come up, and you have to attend them. I know it sounds superfluous to say that, but people tend to take that lightly, like, oh, I'll just read the minutes. Reading the minutes is a minimum, is an absolute minimum. If really, there are, extenuating circumstances that you can't attend, then yes, go ahead and read the minutes. But your presence is very important, because, there's back and forth, there's clarification of questions, there's clarification of issues, that's questions that you can ask. And it shows commitment. When you're there and you're, again, that feeds into the third point, being reliable and dependable. people need to know that you'll be there, like physically, like at meetings. So that goes to, again, being reliable and dependable. And this is really key with dealing with board members and with the larger Chinmay Mission family. They need to, and I hate to kind of say this, but sometimes people have an idea, kind of people think that chicks are, very transient. They're there one day, gone the next, and it's just a very fleeting population. So sometimes we don't rank high on reliability and dependability because, we get busy with our lives. Well, show them what chick really is. Show them what a chick leader truly is. Be a pillar. Be that person that everybody can rely on and depend on. And then that will inspire commitment in your team members too. If they see you as somebody, you can, ride his in, he'll be there. For instance, I'll share with you an example. Gurudev started his lectures punctually. I mean, literally, you could watch watch the clock. Like 7:30, he would be there at the podium, ready to start. Not 7:12, not 7:25, not 7:35. He'd be there at 7:30 p.m. And he would go to great lengths. Like if he was too early, once or twice he's made people kind of circle down the block so that, he would arrive punctually. And then similarly, people have, had to go to great lengths to make sure that they get there on time and get him there on time. But that kind of, discipline is very important. And it also shows commitment. People realize, what is that, what commitment means when they've being so punctual. And another example is how he would start his day at 4 a.m. Just writing letters and I've had this experience when I sent mom encouraged her to write to Gurudev, and I said, he gets like a million. Why would he write back to me? And she said, no, you don't know him. He responds to every single letter. And I said, yeah, sure. And maybe he writes back to you. We'll see. I wrote to him and then I forgot about it. And, within like a couple of weeks, I got a response. And I got, a handwritten letter with, bookmarks and, with different information. And I was like, oh my goodness, he remembered. Mom was right. Like he is completely dependable, completely, reliable in that. And I was amazed that, he actually hand wrote the letter. So it's that kind of commitment that will really, make heads turn, sit up, take you seriously. So, I just kind of want to share this last quote, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So, we're at the stage of maybe arising. We've all kind of been inspired by Chinmay Jyoti Yatra, we're motivated by the cause, and then we want to take action now. And the important thing is not to stop until the goal is reached. So, on that note, I want to conclude the 5 C's, and it's just in time. It's 8:47 on my clock, and now I'm going to go ahead and open up the discussion, or open up the Q&A. So if you can go ahead and post your questions, I'll go ahead and take questions right now. And I understand there's a time delay. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. And then we can probably conclude if there aren't any. But I'm going to go ahead and wait for a few minutes. So if you have a question, can you please go ahead and post it now? Okay, so I just checked with Swamiji and he says I should wait for about 3 to 4 minutes for anybody to post questions. And then if not, we can do closing prayers and end the session. Oh, and while some of you are typing, I just want to quickly talk about tomorrow's seminar. And tomorrow's seminar, again, is going to be a lot of pointers on communication. So when we talk about communication, I'm going to look at communication as a means of achieving the goal. And I'll do a similar sort of 5 C's approach to communication. And we're going to look at how to handle communication with the public, with team members, and with board members. And if you've got something urgent, or if there's something you'd like me to address for tomorrow, you can certainly email me. And it's just my first name dot last name at gmail.com. So it's Sharanya, SHARANYA dot RAO at gmail.com. So if you want to give me a heads up on anything specific that you're looking for and that you want me to cover in tomorrow's seminar, I can certainly look at that. And please go ahead and send me the questions at least by noon tomorrow, so I have time to prepare. I have a question from Padma. How can conviction and commitment be built and sustained, especially amongst team members? Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. How can conviction and commitment be built and sustained, especially among team members? Great question. And how I've looked at this is how other leaders have done it. And I draw inspiration from Gurudev, first of all. See, how did he manage to keep a movement going? When you think about the fact that, the movement has now, it's been over, it's been like 50 plus years of the movement. Actually, I think longer than that. Yeah, 50 plus years. How did he do it? That's my starting point first. And then I look at, well, okay, what can I do? And conviction and commitment. I think one of the most important thing is first for the team to kind of get, and this is the kind of the conversation I was talking about having before you even start planning the project, right? Looking at what is this goal, what are you trying to do, and getting buy-in from the team. So that is the how do you build it? You start with that conversation, and the second thing is, and this is again, this will go to tomorrow's lecture, which is on communication. Having good communication with your team members, having an open communication with your team members, so that when they feel, that like their inspiration is running dry and when they start to show signs of like, I don't know what I really signed up for, like, I don't think this is what I signed up for, that you have that rapport to talk to them about what's going on, checking in with them, addressing their concerns, so that anytime somebody kind of seems like they're waning, seems like they're waning away, like, that you can actually catch that and address it before it gets to a point where this person just stops showing up. So building rapport with your team members is very, very important. Now, in terms of, I think it also kind of feeds to commitment, staying inspired, staying focused on the big picture. Some of the things that, if you really keep your eyes on the prize, it's also going to involve you needing to let go of some things. I think one of the things that bothers people about working in a team sometimes, just depending on their style, is being micromanaged. Feeling like they're not really valued on the team. Feeling like, hey, they can just replace me with somebody else, or it's, that they're very dispensable. So I think it involves making each person feel valued, and trusting them. So I would say that goes a long way in, building that commitment. Somebody know needed, and they're valued for their input, then they want to stay engaged. Because they know they're special. I mean, again, I draw my inspiration from about Gurudev, and how he would every person feel special. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how, like, of the thousands of people he connected with, he made a connection with everyone. And we don't have thousands of people that we're dealing with, but we could do that with a team of 10, 15, 20. So staying connected to people, and also like making sure that the team knows the goals, and then having rapport with your team members, so that when the going gets tough, y'all can check in with each other and say, what, and then also, don't think you need to handle everything yourself. As I mentioned earlier, you have guiding acharyas. So if somebody proves to be very difficult, or if the team proves to be very difficult, then you can always get help from the areas, and and reach out to your acharya. This is what I'm facing. What do you think I need to do? Sometimes, and again, this has been my experience, when you say something, it may not mean as much an acharya says the same thing to the team, and that's that's the special thing that acharyas do. And so let them do it. Let them talk to the team. If you feel like your team needs a boost, then get together with your acharya and let the acharya do the boosting. They're great at it. So I hope that answered your question, Padma. So just a couple more minutes to see if anybody else has a question. It's 8:57, so we'll stop right at 9. And then also just know that, for instance, now you can't think of any questions, you can always email me. And in case you didn't catch it earlier, I'm going to repeat it again. It's SHARANYA.Rao, RAO, @gmail.com. Oh, okay. I just got a note from Samji. Correction. If you have a question, don't send it to me. Send it to chickwestjy gmail.com. So that's CHYKWESTJY, so like Chikwas Jyoti Yatra, at gmail.com. So go ahead and send your questions there, not to me personally. Sorry, Samji, I did not see this this note. I just saw it. And they will forward me your questions. Or if it's something, I guess, if they can answer, then they might go ahead and handle it. Okay, 8:59. One more minute. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any more questions. Again, if you think of something, you can go ahead and forward me the question via chickwestjy@gmail.com. I suppose Raghu is suggesting that I can answer it tomorrow at tomorrow's session, and maybe I can. If you don't get it in time, don't worry about it. I'm asking that you send your questions by noon tomorrow so I can kind of prep for it. And then if you really, it's okay. You can still ask me tomorrow at tomorrow's session. Though tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll probably prioritize questions relating to communication first, and then if there's time, I'll handle questions on leadership, just because the focus is going to be on communication. But yeah, you could definitely keep those questions coming. So let's go ahead and conclude with Purnamada, and I'm going to go ahead and lead the prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om, everyone, and thank you for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.